All right, Conrad, how do you feel about this Patagonia story?
I'm so happy. Yvon Chouinard is one of my favorite business people. And just to catch everyone up on this, Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard, instead of going public, has basically said all of the profits that Patagonia produces from here forward is going to go to fighting climate change. And he wrote the book, Let My People Go Surfing. It's one of my favorite business books. We should actually do a segment on best business books, but
that's a
Let
great
My People
idea.
Go Surfing. Let's coming at you next time at Lunch Hour Legal Marketing.
Well, I love Patagonia stuff. I love the story. I hope they're successful in fighting climate change. We get our company swag through from Patagonia.
Do you? Is this going to change your purchasing behavior though?
Well, no, because I'm already a Patagonia customer. So
no, but would you?
Maybe it makes me feel better. Buy more.
Would you buy more? Like, would you eschew Arc'teryx in favor of Patagonia now because of this?
I think so.
I would too,
honestly. And I think that honestly, the other thing is like it actually made me shop for Patagonia stuff, and I don't really even need it. But I was like, you know what? It's a great story, great company, great product. Support the cause. Cause marketing.
Oh wow, we came back to
Didn't
that.
you talk about this at one
We've
point?
talked about this a lot.
Yeah. So,
all right.
What do we got on the talkings about agenda today?
So we are not going to talk about the news today. No news, because the only news that we had was 3 more Google algorithm updates where you and I were going to say, just wait and see what happens. So we're not going to do any news. We are going to talk
protesting the news.
There's a lot of news to protest, but that's a different thing.
Different show.
Different show. You'll have to listen to Pod Save America for that news. Anyway, different conversation. We will be talking about legal marketing conferences or legal conferences in general. Are they worth it? We're going to get into one of my favorite things, sales funnel velocity. How's that for an MBA sounding garbled mouthful?
That sounds very gibberishy jargon to me.
Brought to you by the Michigan MBA Sales Funnel Velocity, which is honestly a really important thing that most of you don't think about. And along the lines of those metrics, we're going to talk about, do we need metrics, or we don't need no stinking metrics?
We're professionals.
But Guy, I hear that you are missing out on doing the throw to music, so I'm going to stop talking and let you throw it.
Thank you. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. Mr. Lockwood, hit that good music.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
Welcome, dear listeners, to another exciting and hilarious episode of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. We're diving right in today to a rant. I guess it's my rant. We'll see. Maybe Conrad will be ranty on it too. But the rant is, are conferences worth it? And you know what? That's the title. You know, we got to have a title so we can put something in there. But here's the reason for some of this ranting. I posted on LinkedIn about masterminds and you know, I think masterminds can be exceptionally valuable. I think conferences can be exceptionally valuable. I mean, let's face it, I have volunteered for many years to participate in the ABA Tech Show conference, and I'm the current co-chair. But to me, it's not even about just like, are they worth it? I think this rant started when we were discussing this episode. Not all conferences are created equally. And so, you know, some of these conferences, you know, some speakers are paying to be at the conference.
Oh, lots of these speakers are paying. There are conferences where every single speaker pays, right?
And why would a speaker pay to speak at a conference, Conrad?
Well, if you need to prostitute your wares to a bunch of prospective clients, a conference is a great place to do that. Let me ask you a question.
Please.
I don't know if you're willing to answer this.
Okay.
What is the highest amount you have been asked in order to speak at a conference? And I suspect we have the same number. Because we've both been hit by this.
Well, it's interesting. So that question is loaded itself because like I get a lot of these like speaker sponsorship emails.
Right.
And they're in the tens to 20s to 30s, thousands of dollars range. But, that's the thing is like, is that really, am I being asked to speak? It doesn't feel like I'm being asked to speak. It feels like I'm asked to be a sponsor of the show.
Yeah.
It has a speaking slot as part of the sponsorship.
Yeah. Now,
anyway,
would you go to that if you couldn't speak? Would you just sponsor and
maybe
stand
yes,
in the booth?
maybe no. I mean, my again, hence the rant. My issue is like, the attendees for the most part, a lot of them, they don't know about this stuff. They don't know. They don't put it on the website when you're joining the conference. Like, these are speaker sponsors. No, they're just like, this is a speaker.
Right.
In fact, sometimes they don't even talk about whether they're paid or not or what that relationship is. And so what do you get? You get pitches from the stage. It's why, it's one of the reasons why the ABA has been so clear throughout the years that you can't pitch from the stage and, they don't take money for speakers. And sponsorships are designated sponsorships. So, but it's not just that.
What else do you hate about conferences right now?
Yeah. The other thing is I'm looking at some of these conferences and, look, you want to go and get inspired by a motivational speaker or you're a fan of somebody or whatever, and you want to make a trip out of it. Great. And that's not to say that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have a little motivation and a little information and some networking stuff. But, I'm the reason I really was the real thrust of the rant, as I mentioned, I had this post on LinkedIn about masterminds. And so, I guess, is it a conference? I guess mastermind, some of the conferences are put on in the same way. But you get a lawyer who's purportedly big brand, big name. They group together with some other lawyers, big brands, big names. And then they sell the conference, the summit, the mastermind, the whatever you want to call it, to lawyers who are established themselves, which again, as I acknowledge on LinkedIn, can have tremendous value. You get to learn the mistakes that they made. Maybe you don't make those mistakes. Hugely valuable, whatever. But in a lot of these contexts, they're your local competitor. And so I'm like, yep, okay, you can go, you can pay that person, but this lawyer who's a competitor is monetizing developing some kind of relationship with you because, a lot of them that's like designed to be like a create a referral relationship, or that's what they pitch sometimes at the conference. And that one to me just like struck me as like, guys, folks, people, attendees, you got to ask some questions about these conferences. They're not all the same. Anyway, if you've got a great conference that you love, LHL Emmett, Twitter. If you have a conference you hate, LHL Emmett. What are your thoughts on conferences? Are you going to conferences? Are we still worried a little bit about face-to-face in-person conferences? Have you done a hybrid or one of these virtual things? We'd love to hear from you. Hashtag
Let me ask you a
LHLM.
question. I'm going to answer my question to give you time to think, so I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll answer the question, and then you can answer it. If you could choose one conference to go to, you're the owner of a law firm, you're going to choose one conference to go to this year, what would it be? My answer to that just happened. I'm going to move outside of legal, and I think it's important to move outside of legal. I would absolutely have gone to HubSpot's Inbound, partly because of the draw of their keynote speaker, which was Obama. But I do think there's value in thinking outside of the legal industry, and so I would pick HubSpot's Inbound. If you could go to one conference this year as the owner of a law firm, Guy, to get smarter, what would it be?
Well, I love it, and I'm going to qualify that answer in various ways. Number one is, what am I going there for? Am I going there because I need to be motivated? Am I going there for tactical knowledge? Am I going there because I need CLE?
Fair.
These are all questions. And so that's why, and again, bias alert warning, because I am the co-chair, tech show. Because, and here's my pitch. Here's my pitch. It's not platform specific. You get a bunch of different tech providers. You get experts there. Frankly, on the huge paid keynote side of things, Tech Show doesn't do that. So if that's what you're looking for, don't go to Tech Show. But CLE, Tech Show. So I'm running with Tech Show. My people at ABA, obviously I'm biased. there's a lot of good shows. Let's hear from you about what you think. All right. Let us take a quick break.
Hey, Guy, have you ever decided not to buy something? This is a real world example, not a virtual example. But have you ever decided not to buy something because the line at checkout was too long?
Yes, many times. And in fact, I recently decided not even to return something because the line at checkout was too long.
Wow.
Yeah.
The customer service line was too long. You're just like, I'm
not even returning it.
The pink pillows, they're just fantastic.
And that's why I'm like, did they do that on purpose?
So I want to talk about, I'm using that as a real world example, but a problem that happens in legal intake, which is this concept around sales velocity. And sales velocity is fundamentally how quickly someone goes from lead to signed clients. And the reason it's so important is what I just talked about. The slower you are in going from, I think I might want to buy this, to actually purchasing something, the less likely you are to A, buy the thing at all, or B, buy it from whom you're initially talking to. And so sales funnel velocity becomes really, really important. We break the funnel into a bunch of different steps. We talk about leads, which is a phone call, form fill, text, or chat, and then consultations, right? So we've taken, the intake person has decided that we actually want to talk to you. From the consultation, you have what we call attorney qualified leads. This is where a attorney has actually had that consultation and decided that this is a prospect that we actually want. And then signed client, right? And the speed at which people move through that funnel has a very, very high impact on the overall conversion rate of that funnel. And yet, Guy, my gut is most lawyers, well, actually, it's not my gut. Most lawyers don't know those numbers. Most lawyers aren't paying attention to those numbers or thinking about those numbers at all. And so just go to the classic managerial perspective. If you don't measure it, it won't get done. How many of your clients do you know are thinking about sales velocity?
Not as sales velocity, but and I'm going to pick a fight with you.
Go. Wow. This was
friendly.
You were just mean to
right?
the conferences, and now you're being mean to me?
Yeah.
All right.
No, this is not. No, I'm per usual, agree with you on many of these things. So if we're talking about how can we improve responsiveness, nurturing, sales stuff that we taught, that's like sales 101 stuff that you can do, I think it's great. And I think to your point, which is like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like your big point is to be measuring these things and working on improving them. And so, if you've got a bad response rate, 100%. If your process is broken, we would call it a pipeline. I don't know if lawyers tend to use pipelines, and some do, but if there's something going on in your pipeline that's causing a block, awesome. Like, we should be measuring that and managing it.
Right.
In some contexts, though, in hiring a lawyer, it's you got to be careful not to walk the line of like, okay, this is, and we're going to talk about this with metrics, but the metric to manage is increased sales funnel velocity. But then, in doing so, conversion went down because now we're harassing people.
Sure.
So that's my only nit.
No, it's a fair point. I was in Golden, Colorado. Icelantic, which is a small ski manufacturer, is headquartered in Golden, Colorado. Their only retail shop is in Golden, Colorado. They had some amazing skis that I was interested in looking at. And the guy there was just like, you got to buy these right now or they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone by October, man. You got to pull the trigger. And I walked out. I was like, dude, I want to learn about your skis.
Right. So that's my devil's advocacy. I think you're 90% are right. And I think the big point here, like, lawyers aren't doing any of this.
They're certainly not measuring it, right?
Some are. Some
are. I will share with you, for my clients, we do measure this. And those steps in the funnel, we're doing from lead to consultation. So lead to book consultation for our clients on average. And by the way, there's a math. If you get nerdy about the stats on this, The standard deviation, this is a very flat bell curve. The standard deviations are very wide. And so it's very, very variable here. But on average, we're going from that lead to a booked consultation in 2.7 days. We are 2.8 days. We're going from that consultation book to deciding that you actually want that person as a client or not in 2.8 days. And we are then taking, interestingly, 8.6 days to go from I've decided I want you as a client to actually having that client sign. Right. So interesting data points from us. By the way, if you are
love
interested,
these data points, by the way.
So data is super important. If you're interested in benchmarking your firm against the data, Guy and I are putting some data together. mockingbirdmarketing.com/benchmark. You can join that data study, and it'll include numbers like this. But what we have found is if you're an outlier to any of those data points, so just think about things like answering the phone, right? If it takes you a long time to answer the phone, or you don't answer the phone regularly, or if someone fills out a form fill on your site and it takes you a day to get back to that person, you've just taken that step in the funnel and you've added 24 hours to that, right?
Do you have that data point? Because I don't think that's one you mentioned earlier. Do you have that one up in front of you somewhere?
Which
the
data
one
point?
on the from inquiry to response?
Oh yeah,
time?
that's the 2.8 days, right? So
got it.
So I'm presuming that from inquiry to like talking to that person, during that talking to that person, you book the consultation.
Well, that's the issue, right? Because there's a difference between booking the consultation and responding, right? Because the response might be immediate, but the consultation's not booked for 2.8 days.
Sure. Yes, I do not have that kind of immediate response rate. I'll tell you.
I bet you it's
though,
shorter than 2.8 days. By the way.
That is probably true, right? And it's especially true, and I think this is dangerous. This is one of the reasons I don't like this. That metric can actually be not very helpful because you can drop that metric to 0 by having automated responses. Right. And we talked about this lightly before we were prepping for this show. Have you seen those automated Facebook responses?
Facebook response has gone wrong.
Facebook response has gone terribly wrong. So for those of you who don't know, you can automate the process of responding to a message on Facebook. And you can actually make it really user unfriendly. So what would you like to talk to us about? Would you like to sign a new case? Are you looking to talk about your existing case? And Facebook, you actually can make it so you can only respond in one of those defined fashions, right? It's like a choose your own adventure. If you want to talk about anything else, like it gives you the big error message. Terrible user experience, right? This is social media and it is being done very poorly robotically and automated so that no one wants to interface with you at all. That's been my take on this. I don't know if you're seeing success there, but like it has not been implemented well.
Not with the way you not if you configure it that way. So, because let's face it, this is no different. If you do it the right way, it can be implemented similar to a chatbot. Now, again, chatbots have problems, and we've talked about that a lot. But yeah, I think to me, which is the sad, again, you're gonna be like, see, beating up the audience again. But a lot of lawyers like that I talk to, they don't even realize that people. Like they've at some point, this is how the story goes.
Yes.
I had my nephew or niece create a Facebook business page for our firm a couple of years ago. Oh, you did? Let's check it out. Oh, people are sending you messages there for several years that you didn't. Oh, you can get messages here? Right. So that's issue number one. And then, of course, issue number two is that when you start to dig into the messages, sometimes too, and I don't know what the default setting is, but sometimes what happens is like they inadvertently check the auto AI robot response. And so then you're watching all these messages where it's like, hey, I'd like to talk to so-and-so. And to your point, they're like, how can I help you? I'd like to talk to so-and-so, right? And now we're in the Kafka, like my experience with my bank, where it's like you can't get out of the system. Then you just go and choose the next lawyer.
Yeah, which is what happens, right? So, and there's I was talking to Harlan Schillinger the other day. He cited an old FindLaw study, and I think I've got this number correct in my memory. 84% of people hire the first lawyer they talk to, right? 84%. Now I know that was an old data point, but it's still probably not that far off.
So we should. I don't have it at my hand, so maybe we'll have to edit this in. But Legal Trends Report has this actual data point in it.
Yes.
And
Let's
I'm
find that
blanking on
worst
what it
case.
is, of course,
put it in
even
the show
though
notes.
I'm obsessed with it and read it every day. But it's high. But here's the thing. You know what it depends on? Whether they like you. So like, plenty of people call up. They're going to shop for another lawyer because the lawyer either answered the phone poorly, was abrasive, whatever it was. Like that's the part that people miss. And then it's like you get lawyers that are like, oh yeah, I'm the best lawyer at this in the world. Well, they don't care because they felt like they were treated poorly.
Right. So that's another interesting piece of this sales funnel. We've got the velocity. I don't have the data in front of me right now to share this one, but like, what is that conversion rate through each phase of the funnel? You should know with absolute clarity, in my opinion, your conversion rate in each step of that funnel, as well as the velocity, right? And it doesn't mean that conversion rate should be very high all the time. I just did a post on someone who has a 5% rate of wanted leads, consultations to clients. But that's because they throw most of the clients out, right? But you should know what that is. You should absolutely know what that number is. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to make your firm better.
Speaking of the Legal Trends Report, it's time for Legal Trends Report Minute, brought to you by Clio. So we're doing a throwback Legal Trends Report Minute. 2019 Trends Report. Law firms should respond within 24 hours. How quickly do potential clients expect firms to respond when leaving a phone message or email? 10%, expect a response within an hour. 24% within a few hours, and 45% within 24 hours. In other words, responding. This is the first response, right? Just responding, not booking, but responding. Beyond 24 hours means missing the expectations of 79% of those who reach out to you. Only 5% of clients said they would expect a response beyond 72 hours. Given that clients are likely to reach out to more than one firm when experience a legal problem, being the first to respond will help make a better impression. Interesting. A couple things in there. And one, you had brought this up before when we talked about this data point that I'd like you to talk more about. The way you communicate, or the expectation that's been set around communication, matters in this, right? Like Conrad, your big point, which really struck me, is if you've got a text relationship, if you've set an expectation with texting, what are the expectations around texting, Conrad?
Speed, right? Like it's fast, right? So it's not like you don't send a text and expect to wait an hour, right? That's not how texting works. You hear back, right away. And so that becomes really difficult for a law firm to manage from an intake perspective if they're not thinking about that.
So the other thing that I love about this particular stat is, so they basically conclude 24 hours. So that's what I want you to come back with your benchmark data. I'm so curious to see if on average they're responding within 24 hours. But again, that's got to be to response. I think that's a good standard, though. I mean, that honestly, that's the one that if you guys ask me like a generic without like, I mean, let's face it, the best is you're responding immediately, right? Autoresponder with, virtual receptionist or something. But if you can't do that, you start to weigh balance. I think 24 hours is kind of like the upper limit there. Personally,
absolutely upper limit. There are so many services and technologies available to make this faster that 24 hours is unacceptable. And by the way, this is 2019. World is moving faster in 2022, right? This is 3 years old. So 24 hours, absolutely. I think the other question for me is, why the fuck are people leaving phone messages? Right? At the risk of plugging Smith AI, why are you accepting the concept of voicemail? Right.
Right. That's why this is another one that always comes up for me, because I guess I'm get triggered by this voicemail thing. But I was told once that if they want to get a hold of me, they'll leave me a voice message.
Oh,
and I'm
the
like,
hell
no.
that! Yeah.
I'm like, no, they won't.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
maybe if it was like referred to by one of your family members or something, they'll leave a voice message, maybe. But I don't know. But, hey, If you're operating under a voice messaging system and think you have a good client experience, hashtag LHLM because we want to talk to you.
Because we want to make fun of you.
Come on the show.
On air.
Bring your data. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, we don't do data. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
we'll talk about the no data. All right.
To learn more about these opportunities and much, much more, for free, download Clio's Legal Trends Report at clio.com/trends. That's Clio spelled CLIO. And Clio Cloud Conference. And Conrad asked me earlier about the one conference I would recommend. I said Tech Show. I admitted I was biased. But if you asked me what my top 2 were, Clio Cloud Conference would be 1.5 out of 1 or something. Anyway, I'll be there. I don't know when this is airing, but say hello to me if we're at the show at the same time when you're hearing this. And come to Clio. I mean, they put on a heck of a show, tons of knowledge sharing. And do it. See you in Nashville. Let's take a break.
All right. Now, for feedback. I get to read this to you because it's all about you, Guy.
It's all about
It never
me.
hurts to get in the game with current laws and litigations, and Guy is that dude. So I had to subscribe. Well done. Thank you for joining us. And please subscribe. We'd love to hear more from you. Guy, I want to ask you about metrics. We started talking about really nerdy business school sales funnel velocity and conversion rates. Metrics important. I want you to read this comment on LinkedIn because I had something similar happen. But read this out, and then we're going to talk about metrics.
Okay, so we received. This is actually an email that we received. We were talking to lawyers. We were just asking them about what kind of metrics they use at their firm. And first they responded metrics, just question mark, and then so we tried to say, hey, yeah, we're trying to get a sense of what business metrics you're using. And here was the response: we are professionals. We do not consider ourselves as running a business. We don't use metrics to rate each other. We don't keep up with the number of signed cases, nor do we keep up with billable hours. Each of us does. We service clients. We obviously get paid to do that, and our personal compensation is based on production as it must be. We try to be frugal on expenses and review monthly income and expense reports as we must. Ah, yes. And, so 2 things about this little thing before we really dive into this and get super ranty. Number 1 is this implication that you can't be a professional and run a business, right? I love that one. Oh, we're not business people. We're not business owners. We're lawyers.
We're above that
Oh,
stuff.
so you can't be a great lawyer? You can't be a great lawyer and be a good business person? Hashtag LHLM. I dare you. And again, look, I'm not even going to, the specific metrics that they're talking about here, do I care really whether you use metrics to rate each other? I mean, as a management, there should be some kind of, in my opinion, some kind of way of some management strategy. Does that mean it has a metric or not? I don't really care, but come on. We don't run a business?
Yeah, I mean...
what do you think, Conrad? No metrics? You got anti-metrics these days?
I think, I went to business school, and so I think one of the fallacies you can get into is everything can be run by metrics. And so having said that, I'm hoping that everyone who has sat through and listened to us before understands where we're coming from on this. But this is you do run a business, and being a professional actually means that you are in a business. And B, it just goes back to that very, very old business edict that what gets measured gets done. I just found this one. I had the same thing. Gary Falkowitz on his law firm Intake Fundamentals Facebook group said, how confident are you that you answer every inbound how confident are you that every inbound call is answered? And I answered his question was like, would you like the data that shows those who are very confident are wrong? Someone wrote back that says, I don't chase leads. We have 30 new calls a day. I only accept 3 cases a month. So a few missed calls isn't going to move the needle on any metric.
It will on one.
It absolutely will on one. And if you're that picky on those clients, right, you need to find those best clients. And those clients who are the really, really good clients who are just going to find you because you're amazing, they expect to be treated very, very well. That has always been the case.
I promise you, if we tracked that story over the course of a year, I would bet you lunch that they get a negative review for bad response on Google.
Well, yeah. Right. So being responsive, that was like one of the most important things. But, the metrics that I think the other side of this, and I think you and I deal with this all day long, is there's so many metrics. Like you and I can create numbers out of everything. And so I do think part of the art of running a business, especially a law firm, is what are we really looking at? What are the metrics that are really important, right? And I get tired of digital marketing people throwing horseshit metrics at their clients all the time, right? So
what?
Even
that happens.
Shocking, I know. But like I've talked about this before. If you're counting leads instead of consultations, like what are you doing? You don't want leads. You don't want your phone ringing off the hook with no consultations. You want to talk about consultations. So why are you talking about
cases,
right? Why are you talking to your digital marketing agency about the number of leads that they generate or the number of likes that they generate for Facebook or the number of blog posts that they wrote last week? Like there are a lot, or the rankings for things that no one is looking for, right? There's so many
ranking
garbage
reports.
metrics, right? This is why, like, our knee jerk with what you read was like, you're an idiot. You are a business and you need numbers, right? That's real. But then I can kind of understand it because especially the marketing agencies, we throw so many useless metrics at the industry that I think that might be where some of this comes from, right?
Not in this case. You're right, and I do think that that's a huge issue. But this is the classic example of we're lawyers, we're special. Practicing law is not like running a business. We don't use any of these. All this business talk is nonsense to us. That's what this is about. And again, my thing, and go check out, we'll put the link to the conversation on LinkedIn, so feel free to join in. There are tons of aspects. Mike Whalen had some great points. There are lots of aspects to practicing law that don't lend themselves well to metrics. Here's one: empathy for your client, right? Like, how are you going to measure that really? We're at 8 on the empathy scale. No, of course. And there's all sorts of substantive issues related to practicing law that don't have metrics. But I'm talking business here, right? And so in this case, this person, they're talking, we don't run a business, right? To your point, though, lots of trash metrics overload. Again, I think Whalen also agreed with you on, choosing the right metrics. I think there's like that. Yes, of course, you can run yourself silly chasing the wrong metrics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And shout out to Jeremy Baker,
who,
said he strives to be professional and a business person. They aren't mutually exclusive. Exactly, right? I think he really nailed that one for me. But anyway, are we talking about metrics? Are we talking about what metrics to measure? Or
we could do a whole show on that. You want to do a whole show on the
metrics that matter.
To measure? Metrics that matter. I feel like that's a book somewhere.
Metrics that matter. It is now. I just wrote it.
Yeah. No, we'll do a whole session on metrics that matter, right? Because I do think there's too much that you can look at. There's too much.
What are the worst metrics you see marketers using?
Great. Let's continue being mean to people and we'll make fun of them. The worst metrics, I will give you 2 and then it's your turn. Number 1 is ranking reports. How you rank for things that no one is looking for. Also, personalization, ranking reports don't matter. Number 2 is the social media vanity signals that are bullshit. And by watching the bullshit numbers, so I will use, like, someone sent this to me the other day, was like, you should, I made a comment somewhere on social, and someone's like, you should follow blah, 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 because she really gets it. And I'm assuming this was blah, blah, blah's, marketing agency trying to get her more likes. But she was like new on Instagram. She had made like 97 posts and she had 4.2 million followers, right? So, oh, great. There's a metric that is absolutely completely made up. But if you focus on something like, how many followers do I have? Well, it's very easy for me to go get you 4.2 million bots to sign up to follow you. And now you feel like you're doing a great job. So metrics are not just, unhelpful, but some of them can actually incent you or your agency to undertake dubious tactics as well as
reputation damage,
downright fraud. Yeah,
reputation damage for sure. You didn't ask me, I don't think, but I'm going to tell you the one that's really been bothering me.
Ask for two. You got to come up with two.
Two. Okay. This is one that's been really bothering me. I don't know if it's like my number one or my number two, but it's definitely top 5. Bounce rate. For the love of God, people. I mean, honestly, I still see this.
Hey, Guy, what's bounce rate?
All right. This is from Google Analytics, so we'll give the exact definition. A bounce is a single-page session on your site. In analytics, a bounce is calculated specifically as a session that triggers only a single request to the analytics server, such as when a user opens a single page on your site and then exits without triggering any other requests to the analytics server during that session. So there's more on this. But anyway, what you see is all the time, marketing person talking about how important it is to improve your bounce rate. And maybe if you're a publisher or you've got paying for ads or something like that bounce rate might matter, right? You want to keep people on your site. You don't want them bouncing off the site. But here's the thing. You land on a landing page, you fill out a form, and you're done. It doesn't redirect you to a thank you page, and you close your browser. That's a bounce. Guess what else that is? A conversion. So ignore bounce rate, in my opinion.
Hey, Guy, does bounce rate impact your SEO traffic?
Oh, that's the other one, right? Reduce your bounce rate to increase your rankings, right?
Is that a thing?
Well, the conspiracy theorists believe that Google is using Google Analytics as part of their source data for rank data, and Google has been adamant that is outrageous to even accuse them of. I'll tell you this. I'm not in there using Google Analytics. Could they be using some kind of measurement of engagement from search results and back, maybe in a limited way? Maybe. But I will tell you this, bounce rate is not that. And bounce rate has absolutely no impact on your rankings whatsoever. Please hashtag LHLM me if you want to fight about it. I'm just picking fights today, I guess.
You keep inviting. We should have the...
I'm trying to get people on the hashtag, I guess.
The entire episode of you're going to come on LHLM and Guy will make fun of you.
Yeah. I'll give you guys number 2. Another horrible metric. Traffic. Traffic, people.
Yeah.
Because, Conrad's over here talking about don't count leads that aren't qualified. Yeah. Right? Don't count conversion pixel fires. Well, guess what? Guess what else is some pixel firing? Traffic. Do you know? So first of all, I'm not even going to get into the fight about direct traffic and traffic by source and all that stuff. I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going to give you concede all those. And if you're measuring organic traffic, Google organic traffic, and it's not where your clients come from, why are you measuring it? Do you really care about those organic visits from other countries when you're a local bankruptcy lawyer?
Right.
Or how about from another state? You're a local criminal defense lawyer or DUI lawyer or family lawyer, and you serve a very specific location. Why are you measuring traffic from other states that's not converting?
Right.
And again, it's in the reports.
So it's actually an interesting data point. My anecdote with that and like you and I are both old school SEO guys. I did a ton of
old
research
for
on
sure.
that. Yeah. And SEO guys for sure, right?
Yeah, I guess.
But I did a ton of study across our clients and found that on average, I think the number was 2.7. I did actually publish this with the ABA. 2.7% of traffic would contact a law firm, right? Or organic traffic, right? So like, and the theory was like, all right, the more traffic, the more contacts you're going to get, which is great. And this is where averages are just so not helpful, right? And the metrics become so unhelpful. When you look at it's the distribution of that. And there was a very, very wide variability. And what we found is a huge correlation between page count, which was like long tail searching, and garbage unrelated to I want to hire a lawyer searches. So page count driving more traffic and having a very, very low conversion rate. So yeah, you may have a lot of traffic because you've got a lot of long tail content out there. That doesn't mean that they're going to do anything. We've got a, I think I'm stabbing at these numbers here. We've got a client that gets 2 or 3 actual clients a month, and they're doing something like 200,000 sessions a month as well, right? And it's just generating 2 of their clients. Now, we need that session to actually make those conversions happen. We need that page breadth, but it's not that like if we were to double our conversion, it just means one extra needle in the haystack, right?
And I'm going to throw 2 more things to really mess up traffic. How about this? How about all the people that never click through the local pack to your website at all? Guess where they don't show up?
Ooh.
Traffic.
Yeah.
Those are phone calls without traffic. And then the other thing that I think is worth pointing out, especially if you're doing brand building, if you're going to look at traffic at all, you have to segment it by brand versus non-brand. Brand traffic is a totally different ball game than non-brand traffic, right? Brand traffic is people that know your name. And how that converts and what those expectations are and yada, yada, yada. And by the way, a lot of that brand traffic might not even be potential clients. It might be, other people are looking you up for a variety of reasons, right? Could be the court. Anyway, so, look, if you're going to look at a traffic metric, look at non-brand organic converting traffic. That's what I want to see.
Okay, and I'm going to take that one step further. If you're running advertising and you don't have that access to that brand traffic broken out, you could be paying through the nose to your agency. You think you're buying Motorcycle Accident Lawyer Detroit, and you're really buying for $125 a click, and you're really buying Smith & Jones for $5 a click. So don't let your agency pull the wool over your eyes by selling you your brand traffic as non-branded traffic.
Right.
Okay.
Or your SEO agency taking credit for brand organic traffic that's being driven by your TV buy.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Oh, traffic's way up. Well, yeah, this is because people are searching because they saw our ad.
Right.
Talking about.
Okay. This brings us to the end of the Grumpy Guy and Conrad show.
Sorry. Yikes. Yikes. Not enough coffee, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
We will see you in 2 weeks. I think our next session is going to be metrics that matter. We just did 4 metrics that we hate. We might have to do a metrics that matter session to make up for being grumpy. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. If you'd like more information about what you heard today, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts and RSS. Follow Legal Talk Network on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.